Where are you right now? Sprawled on a threadbare couch in some forgotten corner of the world, or perched in a high-rise with a skyline that whispers success. It doesn't matter. This story will sink its hooks into you, slow and deliberate, unraveling a truth that stings like salt in a wound. If it moves you, if it makes your chest ache, hit that subscribe button. There's more where this came from. Tomorrow's tale will cut even deeper. I'm Clara Hensley, 67, once a machinist at the steelworks on the frayed edge of a city where the air carries the tang of oil and faded dreams. Tucked in my pocket is a photograph, worn and soft at the edges, from 1976. I'm 22, grease-streaked overalls clinging to my frame, cradling my son Danny, 3 years old, his eyes bright with a trust I'd spend my life trying to earn. His father left when I was pregnant, leaving me with nothing but unpaid bills and a boy who became my entire universe. I raised him in a one-bedroom apartment, walls so thin you could hear the neighbors' lives, every fight, every sob. I gave up everything, my youth, my chance at college, my dream of designing machines that could reshape the world, for him. And now, he cast me out like I was nothing, blind to the secret I held, a truth that would unravel his world like thread from a spool. The steelworks was my anchor, my crucible. For 40 years, I poured myself into it, shifts that blurred into days, sparks dancing like fireflies, hands hardened to leather by wrenches and steel. I worked doubles, slept in snatches, ate cold sandwiches in a break room that smelled of sweat and metal, all to buy Danny's school books, his soccer cleats, his tuition at a private academy where he could become more than I ever was. I sold my father's workshop, the last piece of him I had, to fund Danny's engineering degree at State. Nights, I'd stumble home, reeking of oil, and whisper to his sleeping form, "You'll build bridges, kid. I'll make damn sure of it." And he did. Top of his class, a job designing skyscrapers for a firm that treated him like royalty. He married Claire, a corporate lawyer with a smile that cut like glass. They urged me to move into their guest cottage in a gated community of manicured lawns and forced politeness. "Quit the mill, Ma," Danny said, his voice warm with promise. "Live with us. Save your money. We'll take care of you when you're old." I believed him, my heart soft with hope. I was a fool, yet I couldn't leave the mill. The hum of the machines, the pulse of steel on steel. It was my rhythm, my purpose. I wasn't ready to be the old woman in their backyard, knitting away her days. My last job was maintaining a fleet of industrial printers for Victor Grayson, a reclusive tycoon whose factories dotted the county like scars. He was a solitary man, no family, his mansion filled with blueprints and the ghosts of unbuilt dreams. For 12 years, I kept his machines purring, fixed every jam, recalibrated every gear. Over coffee, we'd talk, his voice rough as gravel, mine steady with stories of Danny. "Clara," he'd say, eyes glinting, "you don't just fix machines. You mend what's broken in the world." I'd laugh, brushing it off. "Just doing my job, Mr. Grayson." Then the mill closed. Last winter, they called it restructuring. 40 years of my life, and all I got was a limp handshake and a severance check that wouldn't last 3 months. I drove to Danny's, hands trembling on the wheel, rehearsing how to tell him. No savings. Every dime had gone to his education, his wedding, his life. But we were family. He promised to care for me. The cottage was mine, wasn't it? I'd be fine. I found them in their glass-walled kitchen, sipping wine that cost more than my weekly pay. Claire's diamond earrings caught the light like tiny blades. Danny was on his phone, likely checking investments. "Danny, we need to talk," I said, easing onto a stool that felt too pristine for my calloused hands. "The mill's gone. They let me go. No job, no savings. My pension's barely enough to live on." Silence fell, heavy as a millstone. Claire set her glass down with a clink that echoed. Danny didn't look up. "When?" he asked, voice flat as the asphalt outside. "End of the month," I said, forcing a smile. "But maybe it's time. I could help around here, maybe volunteer at the community center, stay useful." Clay's eyes flicked to Danny, a silent signal I couldn't decode but felt like a warning. "We need to discuss this privately," she said, her tone sharp, like I was a case to be closed. Danny shook his head. "No need. Ma, we've been meaning to talk about the cottage." My stomach churned, a gear seizing up. "What about it?" "We're turning it into a gym," he said, eyes fixed on his phone. "Claire's trainer says it's ideal for her yoga retreats. With the kids back from camp, we need the space." The words hit like a misfired piston. "You're saying I have to leave?" Claire leaned in. "All business. We've been covering your expenses, Clara. We assumed you'd saved enough for your own place by now." Saved? On a machinist's wage, after funding Danny's entire life? Every dollar went to him. His tuition, his car, his wedding with a string quartet that cost more than my annual rent. Where am I supposed to go? I asked, my voice thinning. "Rents here are impossible. I have nothing." Danny finally looked up, his eyes cold, unfamiliar. "There's a retirement village an hour out. Affordable. They have a maintenance program. You could fix things to offset rent. It's practical." Practical? After 40 years of breaking my back for him, he wanted me to scrub floors in a beige-walled cage for the elderly. "You're saying I'm a burden?" I whispered, the word bitter as ash. Claire's lips tightened. "Many people your age would be grateful for the option." Danny nodded, as if they'd rehearsed it. "Financially, Ma, you're a liability we can't keep carrying. Not with the kids' tuition and our remodel." A liability. The word struck like a hammer, fracturing something deep within me. "How long do I have?" I asked, my voice steady despite the chaos inside. "Contractors start Monday," Danny said. 48 hours. I'll help you pack." 48 hours to erase a lifetime. I stood, legs unsteady, and walked back to the cottage, tears burning but refusing to fall. The world blurred, but my mind sharpened. Victor Grayson's voice echoed. "Clara, never let them grind you down. You're worth more than they'll ever know." I didn't know that in 3 days, a phone call would turn my world upside down, exposing Danny's betrayal for the petty, cruel thing it was. That night, I packed 4 decades into 2 duffel bags and a cardboard box. The quilt Danny made at 8, its stitches uneven but earnest, went into the bag. My father's toolbox, rusted but heavy with memory, stayed. The photo of Danny's graduation, him beaming in his cap and gown, arm around me, I left it on the shelf. Some things were too heavy to carry. By dawn, my life fit in the trunk of my battered Ford. The cottage felt alien, its walls already turning their back on me. Claire knocked at sunrise, holding a latte like a prop. "Just checking if you need help," she said, her eyes scanning my meager belongings. "The retirement place has furnished units, so don't bother with furniture." "I know," I snapped, sharper than intended. "Most of it's staying." She nodded, relieved. "Good. Contractors start Monday 7 a.m. Anything left goes to charity." Charity, as if I were a discarded coat. "The kids are back tomorrow," she added, glancing at her watch. "Best if you're gone before then. No need for awkwardness. No need to explain to their privileged children why they were evicting their mother." "I have plans," I lied, the words slipping out. Her eyebrows arched. "Plans? Where?" "With a friend," I said vaguely, relishing her flicker of doubt. "I'll stay there until I figure things out." She didn't believe me but didn't press. "We'll need your gate key before you go." Her heels clicked as she left, a metronome counting down my exile. I closed the door, heart pounding. Plans? I had none. No friends with spare rooms, no savings, no safety net. Every dollar had gone to Danny, his education, his house, his dreams. At 67, I faced homelessness with $3,800 in the bank and a pension that wouldn't cover a broom closet in this city. Panic gnawed at me, but I pushed it down, grabbed my phone, and searched for motels. The Rusty Anchor Inn, 30 miles out, offered rooms for $200 a week. Reviews warned of bed bugs and broken locks, but it was all I could afford. I booked a week, fingers trembling as I entered my card number. Then I drove to the bank, withdrew every cent before Danny could claim it was for my own good. The teller, a young man with kind eyes, frowned. "Closing your account, Miss Hensley? You've been here forever." "Moving on," I said, pocketing the cash. It felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Danny texted as I left the bank. "Retirement Village tour set for 2 p.m. Be ready." "I'll drive." I ignored it. I drove to a diner. Its vinyl booths cracked, its coffee bitter as regret. Sitting by the window, I watched strangers move with purpose while I had none. My life's work, my son, had reduced me to a problem to be solved, a line item to be erased. I'd given him everything, my dreams, my home, my future, and he discarded me. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed, mirroring the static in my mind. What happens when the money runs out? What if I get sick? What if I end up on the street? My coffee grew cold as Disby settled in, heavy and unyielding. Then my phone rang, an unknown number. Likely a scam, but something urged me to answer. "Clara Hensley," a crisp voice said. "This is Margaret Voss, executor of Victor Grayson's estate. We need to meet. You're named in his will." My heart stuttered. "There's a mistake. I was just his mechanic." "No mistake," she said firmly. "Mr. Grayson was clear. Can you come to my office tomorrow?" I agreed, my mind reeling. Victor had no family. Perhaps he'd left me a tool set, a small bonus for 12 years of loyalty. It wouldn't solve my problems, but it was a lifeline. I held on to that faint hope as I drove to the Rusty Anchor. The motel was worse than its reviews. The sign flickered like a dying ember. The parking lot littered with broken glass. Men in stained hoodies watched as I unloaded my bags. The clerk, half asleep, slid me a key with a chipped plastic tag. "No refunds," he muttered. My room smelled of stale cigarettes, the carpet sticky underfoot. A roach darted across the wall. I sank onto the sagging bed, the sounds of shouting neighbors and a howling dog seeping through the walls. This was rock bottom. The life I'd built for Danny had led me here. I curled up, hugging my knees, and let the tears come. Raw, wrenching sobs for the girl I'd been, the dreams I'd buried, the son who turned his back on me. Morning brought no solace. My eyes were swollen, my back aching from the lumpy mattress. But I dressed with care, my best slacks, a blouse I'd ironed in the cottage, the silver watch Victor had given me years ago as a thank you. If nothing else, I'd face this meeting with dignity. The law firm's office was in a glass tower that loomed over the city like a judgment. The receptionist offered sparkling water, her smile too bright for my mood. Margaret Voss, a sharp-eyed woman in her 60s, greeted me with a handshake that felt like a vow. "Ms. Hensley, thank you for coming. Victor spoke highly of you." She led me to a conference room, the city sprawling below like a map of my failures. "Victor amended his will 2 years ago," she said, opening a folder. "After a conversation about your son, he admired your sacrifice, your work ethic. He wanted to ensure your security." My throat tightened. Victor had known about Danny's promises, my lack of savings. Had he foreseen this betrayal? "There's no mistake," Margaret continued, sliding a document across the table. I scanned it, words blurring until one line came into focus. "To Clara Hensley, whose dedication and heart have been my anchor, I bequeath $15 million to be held in trust for her sole use." The room tilted. 15 million. I choked out. "That's impossible." "No mistake," Margaret said, her voice steady. "Victor had no eyes. He left most of his estate to his tech foundation, but he was adamant about this gift to you. The funds are in a trust. I can issue an advance today, $75,000 for immediate needs." I stayed at her, then at the city below. Yesterday, I'd been counting quarters for gas. Now I was a millionaire. "I'm at the Rusty Anchor Inn," I bloated. "My son kicked me out when I lost my job, called me a liability." Margaret's eyes softened, but she didn't waver. "Let's get you somewhere safer. The Grand Meridian has long-term suites. I'll make the call." As she arranged the transfer, my mind raced. Danny's face, smug and dismissive, burned in my memory. Part of me wanted to confront him, to watch him crumble under the weight of my secret. But another part, quieter, stronger, whispered to hold back. This wasn't about him anymore. This was mine. Margaret handed me an envelope, $75,000 in a check and cash. The Grand Meridian's ready. A car's waiting. I nodded, dazed. As I left, my phone buzzed. Danny again. Where are you? Lawyer's office won't talk. What's in the will? Call me. I ignored it. Let him stew. The Grand Meridian was a world apart from the rusty anchor. Marble floors gleamed, chandeliers glowed like captured stars, and the staff treated me like I belonged. My suite was larger than Danny's house, with a view that shrank the city to a miniature. I stood there, still in my faded slacks, feeling like an imposter. The woman who belonged here didn't exist yet, but she would. Danny's calls didn't stop. Texts piled up, each more frantic. Ma, where are you? I'm worried. Tell me about the will. Worried? He sensed money and wanted a piece. I ignored him, settling into the suite, ordering room service for the first time. Steak, asparagus, a glass of wine that cost more than my old weekly groceries. A personal shopper, Elise, arrived with clothes for the new Clara, tailored jackets, silk blouses, boots that fit like a second skin. You're transitioning, she said gently. Let yourself grow into it. Her words lingered. Who was I now? Not the machinist, not Danny's mother, not the woman who'd lived for his approval. I met with a financial advisor, Karen Tate, who mapped out the trust like a blueprint. $15 million, conservatively invested, could generate $750,000 a year. You can live well on half, save the rest for charity, travel, anything you want. I nodded, still reeling. A week ago, I'd been pricing instant noodles. Now I was planning a future with millions. Housing first, I told her. Something permanent, mine. Karen connected me with a rental agent, Paul, who showed me lofts, penthouses, townhouses. They were stunning but cold, like Danny's house, spaces for display, not living. Then Paul took me to a restored brownstone in Old Mill Row, a neighborhood of cobblestone streets and quiet grace. The house was warm, hardwood floors, stained glass windows, a backyard with a stone bench under an oak. It felt like home. This is it, I said. Furnished, $3,000 a month. Once, that was half my salary. Now it was trivial. I signed the lease, moved in the next day. My duffel bags looked small in the spacious rooms, but I'd fill them over time. This was mine, untouchable. That night, Danny called again. I answered, ready. Ma, where are you? This is insane. You can't just vanish. I'm building a life, Danny, I said, voice firm. One you don't get to control. What's that mean? Look, I messed up about the cottage. Come back. We'll figure it out. The gym can wait. Too late. I have a place, I said. Paid for. I don't need your charity. With what money? He snapped, then softened. I mean, what did Grayson leave you? Something small, right? You need help managing it. Always assuming I was helpless. I have advisors, Danny, real ones, not family who call me a liability when I'm down. Silence. Then, you're blowing this out of proportion. Come home. We're family. The word stung. Family doesn't kick family out in 48 hours, I said. You made your choice. I'm making mine. I hung up, hands trembling with rage and triumph. For the first time, I'd drawn a line he couldn't cross. The brownstone's quiet embraced me like a shield. I sat in the backyard, stars visible through the oak's branches, and felt a new sensation, freedom. Not just from Danny, but from the Clara who'd lived for him, who'd measured her worth by his success. Victor's money wasn't the gift. The gift was clarity, seeing myself as I was, not as his mother or his sacrifice. Weeks passed in a blur. I settled into the brownstone, filling it with books, a new quilt, a coffee maker that didn't leak. I joined the board of Victor's Foundation, funding tech startups for kids from places like the mill, kids who'd never had a chance. My machinist psych court details the executives missed, and they listened. Me, Clara Hensley, once invisible, now had a voice. Danny kept calling, texting, even showing up at the law firm unannounced. Margaret warned me he tried to access my trust details, claiming he was protecting me. His fishing, she said. We've locked everything down. Good. Let him flounder. I hired an estate lawyer, Rachel Klein, to rewrite my will. Danny was out. The foundation was in, along with a scholarship fund for trade school students, machinists, welders, dreamers like I'd been. Then Rachel investigated the house Danny lived in. I'd paid for it, $200,000 down from selling my father's workshop, $500,000 in mortgage payments over 20 years. Danny had put it in his name, claiming it was simpler for taxes. Rachel's eyes narrowed. We can claim equitable interest. The paper trail's clear. I didn't want the house back. Didn't want to live in his shadow. I just want him to admit it, I said. Admit I built his life. We met in Rachel's office, a brick building that smelled of coffee and resolve. Danny sat across from me, Claire beside him, both in designer suits that reeked of privilege. His lawyer, Greg, began. My client acknowledges your contributions but maintains the property was a gift. Rachel didn't flinch. Ms. Hensley paid $700,000. The house is worth $2 million now. She's entitled to that equity. Danny's jaw tightened. You can't take my home. My kids live there. I don't want it, I said, my voice cutting through his panic. I want you to say it. I paid for it. Every cent. You didn't earn it. I did. His face twisted. Anger, shame, denial. You gave it to me, Ma. It was yours to give. And it was mine to keep, I countered. You lied, said it was ours, then called me a liability when I needed you. Say the truth, Danny. He looked away, jaw working. Claire whispered something, but he shook his head. Rachel slid a document forward. Sign this. Acknowledge Clara's contribution. She'll waive her claim to the property. Danny hesitated, then signed, his hand unsteady. Our eyes met, and I saw it. Guilt, buried but real. He knew. We done, he muttered. Yes, I said. We're done. 3 months later, I sat in my backyard, coffee steaming, leaves rustling underfoot. The foundation thrived. My ideas shaping futures for kids who reminded me of myself at 22. My phone buzzed. A text from Lily, Danny's daughter, home from college. Can I visit, Grandma? Found Dad's papers about the house. I want to talk. I smiled, surprised. At 19, she was sharp, different from her father. Perhaps she saw the truth he couldn't. Perhaps she was my second chance. I'm Clara Hensley, 67, no longer just Anna's mother or the machinist who lived for others. I'm whole, fierce, free. Victor's money didn't save me. It woke me. I was worth something all along, not for what I gave, but for who I am. Danny's betrayal shattered me, but it also set me free. Now, I'm building a life that's mine, brick by brick, truth by truth. Let the world see. I'm not invisible anymore. The brownstone became my sanctuary, a place where I could breathe without the weight of Danny's expectations. I began to explore the city, not as the machinist who trudged its streets to survive, but as a woman with time and means. I visited museums, lingered in bookstores, sat in cafes watching people live lives I'd never imagined for myself. I bought a sketchbook, started drawing machines again, gears, pistons, designs I dreamed of in my youth but never pursued. They weren't perfect, but they were mine, a reclaiming of the girl who'd once wanted to build the world. I joined a community center, not as a volunteer but as a teacher, offering free workshops on basic mechanics for kids from the Mill District. Their eyes lit up as they turned wrenches, just as mine had decades ago. One girl, Maria, reminded me of myself, quiet, determined, hands already calloused at 16. You ever think about designing machines? I asked her one day, wiping grease from my fingers. She shrugged, shy. Maybe. But I got to work, help my mom. I nodded, understanding too well. Keep at it, I said. I'll help you find a way. I set up a scholarship in her name through the foundation, a small step toward the future I'd never had. Danny's text slowed, then stopped. Lily visited one Sunday, her eyes wide as she took in the brownstone. This is yours, she asked, touching the stained glass window. Or mine, I said, pouring her tea. She sat, fidgeting, then pulled out a folder. I found these in Dad's office. Mortgage papers, bank statements. Your name's on everything. I nodded, unsurprised. He told me it was a gift, I said, but it was my money. Her face fell. I didn't know. He said you struggled, that you couldn't manage. I laughed, soft but bitter. He wanted me small, Lily, easier to control. She looked down, then met my eyes. I'm sorry, Grandma, for what he did. Her words were a balm, unexpected and warm. You're here now, I said. That's enough. We talked for hours, about her studies, her dreams of becoming an architect. She had her father's ambition but none of his coldness. I told her about the mill, about Victor, about the trust. Her eyes widened at the number, but she didn't ask for anything. You're doing good with it, she said. Dad, he wouldn't. I smiled, proud of her clarity. Stay for dinner, I said. Let's start over. She nodded, and for the first time in years, I felt a flicker of family, not the one I'd lost, but one I could build. Months turned into a year. The foundation grew, funding projects across the state, workshops, scholarships, startups for kids who'd grown up like me, scraping by in the shadow of factories. I traveled, not far, but enough. Chicago to see a gear exhibit, Boston for a tech conference where I spoke, my voice steady, my machinist's hands gesturing to a room of suits who listened. I bought a car, not flashy, but reliable, a silver sedan that felt like freedom. I planted roses in the backyard, their thorns a reminder that beauty could protect itself. Danny reached out once more, a letter this time, handwritten, rare for him. Ma, I messed up. I was scared. Scared of failing Claire, the kids, you. I thought pushing you out would make things easier. I was wrong. Can we talk? I read it twice, then set it aside. Part of me wanted to forgive, to bridge the gap. But the woman I'd become didn't need his apologies. I wrote back, brief but clear. Danny, I'm living my life now. I wish you well. But we're done. Take care of Lily. I mailed it, feeling lighter. Lily became a regular visitor, bringing sketches, ideas, stories of her own rebellion against her parents' polished world. We built a model bridge one weekend, laughing over its wobbly joints. You're good at this, she said. Why'd you stop? I paused, the question cutting deep. I didn't stop, I said. I just got sidetracked. But I'm back now. She grinned, and I saw myself in her, the girl who dreamed of machines before life ground her down. 2 years later, I stood on the balcony of my brownstone, the city softer now, its edges blurred by time. I was 69, my hair grayer, my hands still strong but slower. The foundation was my legacy, its impact measured in lives changed. Maria was in trade school, designing her first engine. A boy named Jamal had launched a startup with our funding. I'd started a memoir, not for publication, but for me, to trace the arc of a life that had been invisible too long. The photo from '76 sat on my desk, Danny's trusting eyes a reminder of what I'd loved, what I'd lost, what I'd gained. Lily called one evening, her voice bright. Grandma, I got into grad school. Architecture, full scholarship. Can I tell them about you? About what you've done? I laughed, tears pricking. Tell them whatever you want, kid. Just keep building. She promised to visit soon, and I believed her. I'm Clara Hensley, 69, no longer defined by Danny or the mill or the sacrifices I made. Victor's money was a spark, but I was the fire. I was worth something all along, Not for what I gave, but for who I am. A woman who fixed machines, mended dreams, and built a life from the ashes of betrayal. Danny's rejection broke me, but it also freed me. Now, I'm crafting a legacy that's mine. One truth, one rose, one kid at a time. The world sees me now. I'm not invisible anymore.